All right, here we are on Kofche Nissan. Koi Omar Hashem. So Hashem says. Let's see what Hashem says to us, for us, sort of today. Hayom Yom. Where are we? 25 Nissan. An individual's avodah must be commensurate with his character and innate qualities. That's interesting, sort of what I was speaking about. Not speaking, as we were talking at the beginning before we went on mute. We have to bring this, everyone gets the same Amunah, Refuah, etc., and Mashiach Suda, etc., but we all have to bring it into ourselves in our own way. There may be one who can, that's interesting, there may be one who can drill pearls or polish gems. That person has a certain talent. Now, the talent's good, but you have to apply the talent. This person who can drill pearls and polish gems, but instead of doing that, he works at baking bread. So yeah, it says in parentheses, the analogy in the realm of avodah may be easily understood. Though breaking bread is the most necessary craft and occupation, this particular person is considered to have committed a sin. The word is chet. And in my edition, there's a nice informative note. Chet can also be described as deficiency. In other words, not utilizing the gifts that each one of us individually and uniquely have to the greatest advantage. So I think it's a good intro, as always, into Lessons in Tanya. Lessons in Tanya, page 614, 25 Nissan. And in this edition of the Tanya, page 118. So let me just give me a moment. I'm going to editorialize a little since we started talking about the days, how Sarah said, how we're doing Acharon Shel Shabbos. In other words, now we're past Shabbos, we're past Acharon Shel Pesach, we're past the first 2 days of Shvi Shel Pesach. So it's interesting that, and this is just pure editorializing, that this chapter we're in is chapter Mem Beis. Mem Beis, if you recall, there are 42 journeys that we Jewish people took after we left the Red Sea to get to Eretz Yisrael. So if you count those, the days before that, the 7 days of Pesach, it was on the 7th day that the seas parted, and we actually started counting Omer on the 2nd. So that gives you 49. So this is a kind of, in my own consciousness, a open instruction to pay some attention to, again, as we did yesterday, to Sfiras HaOmer. The day of Sfira, there are a few Lashonos, a few translations of the word Sfira. You know what a Sfira is. Sfira is associated with the lights which are embodied in the Kalim. Oris and the two together make a Sfira. And the Alter Rebbe, utilizing that idea, translates Sfira as shining. It can be a Sefer, it can be Sfira to write, which is another way of encapsulating or internalizing. It can be Sipur, it can be a story, which is another way of taking an idea and bringing it down. And it can be a sapphire, like the gem, the sapphire, to let it shine. So I'm in my head and looking at this section in Tanya is very much connected with internalization. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is continuing to speak about today. Okay, so we'll start. This power and this midah, this attribute, which have we been speaking of, which is lekarsha daite b'Hashem, to tie one's das, one's third point of the brain, of the mental powers, chokhmah bin and das, into one's heart. As we said, there are few lashonis, few translations of das, and one of them is lakasher, as in Adam Yoda, knew Eve. In order to do that, lakasher daite b'Hashem, yesh b'chol nefesh b'beis Yisrael. Every Jewish person has this ability. what I'm calling unpacking or internalizing, to unpack from the brain and bring it into the heart. Every Jewish person has this as an inheritance. As a result of one's nurturing and being able literally to suck from, derive from, the level of vitality of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is implanted in each and every one of our souls. Rak, however, but since our soul, with all of this power, is enclosed in a body, it takes a lot of effort. It's a short translation of all those words. It takes a lot of yagir, a lot of striving, very strong, and doubled and redoubled. And one is one is working with your body, the exertion of the body, to align the body, to literally crush, exert force on the body and subjugate it. And we talked about this in the earlier chapters of Tanya, where we're looking at this, and to align the body and to open up itself so that it can participate, which is its natural nature is just to do bodily things, sleep, eat, etc. But it has a deeper nature, comes from a higher place, comes the world of Toihu. That's where the body comes from. And the body itself has a deeper desire, if you can open it up, to align itself with Kedusha. And shelo yachshich ala or hanefesh, so that the superficial levels of the bodily capabilities don't darken over the light of the nefesh, of the godly soul. As is written in the Zohar, and we discussed this at length way back, so that we take it the way it's meant to be taken. The Zohar says, the gufa delay salik ben haira, a body that the light doesn't come out, shine from. He likened it to like a piece of wood, a big log. Remember this in the earlier parts of Tanya? If you have a log and you want to put it on a fire and get fire, you can't just light a match to the log. You have to chop up the wood into little pieces. You have to make kindling. So again, you have to open up the body to its deeper nature in order that the nahar, the nishmasa, in order that the light of the soul should shine into it. You have to mevachin. You have to crush it. You have to make it open so that light can penetrate, so the light can come through the cracks. Mevachin light. How you do that? By, again, using your mind and bring to mind thoughts of shuva. Again, shuva is returning, to bring the body back to its place of origin, which is, as we said earlier, and it was said in many places, which is origin is from the world of Toihu, which is higher than the world of Tikkun. Bring it back. And bring it back from the depths of your heart. That's the avoida that's done with the body. To really get the body. The animal has a deep sense, a powerful sense, like a natural sense, an affinity that's drawn to things in a natural way without a lot of thinking. So if you can take the brain and have it penetrate your heart, now your heart is active and is pulsing with a blood, the animating animus of the blood is now pulsing with Kedusha. The Hasheni, so that's one way, the avoida with the animal soul. The Hasheni, the second way, is the Giyas HaNefesh, with the work of the soul. To work with your soul, with yourself, with your higher faculties, so that your work is not like something that's dragging you down. So that, I'm just not supposed to. So the avoida isn't heavy upon you. The yoga to yagia, work, strive with your thought process, to deepen your thoughts and to contemplate bina in the greatness of Hashem, shagadelo retzufa, for one period of time, one large period of time. And the Rebbe says it could be a short period of time, but a period of time that becomes gadol because you do it more than once, over and over. Kishira shazeh, which the measure of this shah gadola is ein shava b'chol nefesh. This is one continual time, periods of time, one after another, and each and every person has a different capability and a different drive for how much time one can spend contemplating the greatness of Hashem. Yesh nefesh zocha, is a soul, a group kinds of soul. There are people who have souls who are zocha, naturally more refined, b'tevoa, in their nature. Shemiyad shemis bainenes gedulas Hashem, which means that as soon as they begin to meditate in the greatness of Hashem, yagia aleha hagira v'pachad Hashem. So there comes to them the fear and the trembling of Hashem, as written in the Shulchan Aruch. It's Chaim, that it says in Siman Aleph, when a person will meditate, contemplate, think into with his power of Bina, that the king, a great king, the great king, who is the king of all kings, right? Melech Malchei Amlochim, the revelation we had at Pesach. Nigla Aleichem Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Pesach revelation of the King of Kings of Kings. When a person will meditate, contemplate that, Hashem Molech Kol HaOres Kavoidei, and think about how the entirety of all the creation, of all the world, is full of the glory of the King of Kings of Kings. So there are people who, as soon as you bring that to consciousness and feel that king is oimed olo, standing upon you, v'roya b'ma'asev, and looking at everything you do. So if your soul is more sensitive, or becomes, he says, if there are levels of the soul which are higher, deeper, a sensitivity, if you have a quick sensitivity to that, so miyad yagir olav yira v'chulu, then yira and all the other emotional faculties will come upon you. You'll reach all those emotional faculties. And then v'yesh nefesh fola b'tivah b'tildah. So there are souls which are lower than that, right, in terms of mimakar chaitzpah, the place from which that soul is hewn out. Remember, there is Tanya, the Yud Spheres de Asiya, all the way down in the 10 spheres of Asiya. Well, I took a limse b'mashav to helakus ki'im bekushe ubechazaka ubechezka, and that person will take much more work in order to reveal the emotional faculties, to have the moyach shalit on the lev and reveal the emotional faculties. And particularly, if you have done something or things are in your life which are not aligned with Hashem, which we call the tuma mechatos naures, the tuma of sins that you may have done earlier in your life, because that has created more of like a crust around. There's a darkness to begin with, and then if the crust gets thickened by one's actions, so it's a bit harder. Avoidness mabdilin, as the Chazal say, one's sins separate you. They create an even more difficult or thicker. We'll just put a thicker layer of covering. B'Sefer Chasidim Siman Lamed Hey. B'Kol Mokem, nevertheless, b'Kushi b'Chazke, if a person will exert himself, shetischazik ma'oid machshavas ma'oimitz v'yagir rabba, if a person will exert himself very much in his thought, with a great strength and striving, v'oimik godel, and a great depth, la'hamig b'gedulas Hashem, to contemplate the greatness of Hashem, and certainly it will reach him, it will come upon him, the level of the minimal level of service Hashem, right back in Perek Mem, the beginning, where we talked about the foundational element that's necessary in service Hashem is Yiras Hashem, and then upon that one builds and needs to build Ava and all the other midos connected with service of Hashem, and all the intellectual faculties connected with service of Hashem. But if a person will do that, at least one can come to the beginning rung of the ladder, or the first step in the platform, however you want to look at it, which is the Yirat Torah, the lower level of fear. Commissioner Omer Azal, as our sages have said in the Gemara Megillah, Yogaiti umatzosi tamin. If you'll strive, if you'll do the work, you will come. And a person says that I worked and I got there. I got at least to the foundational level. Tamin, believe him. Udagasiv is also written in Mishle. Im tevakshenu bekesef. If you seek Hashem kekesef, not bekesef. If you seek Hashem kekesef, if you look for Hashem like mining for ore, like mining for silver, and in the deep, deep places of the underground, you dig and search. Oz tavin yiras Hashem. Then you will understand yiras Hashem. Pirish. Meaning what? Like one who digs in the deep depths of the earth for a treasure, which is hidden in the dirt. If you knew that there was a treasure hidden deep under your house, you might go for it. Certainly the knowledge that it's there will increase your interest in doing it. So the knowledge that we have from learning this, Tanya, and from many other places, that we have a treasure house of Yira and Avos Hashem buried deep within us, should motivate us to dig for it. V'yagia atzuma, with a strong striving. So, in just like that mashal of digging for buried treasure, so a person has to search, dig with a great effort, to reveal the treasure house of Yerushalayim, which is hidden, concealed in the understanding of each and every heart of each Kol Adam Yisrael, of every Jewish person. That treasure house is there always, above any moment of time, not subject to particular time periods, although there are eis ratzones, times which would make it easier for this. It's always there. It's always there, since all the spheros themselves are above time. Their root is above time. Atzilus starts time, and Bria, congeals time, so to speak. But the spheros, there are esespheros haganuza, which are higher than, there are spheros in esespheros of Ein Sof. So the Bina is there in the realm of timelessness, which in simple terms for understanding here means which is always available, higher than time. And this is the natural fear, which is hidden, as we've spoken about, Yiraschet. But in order to bring it into actual deed, the beginning is Yiraschet, where actually one actualizes the fear of being disconnected from Hashem, the fear of Ched, to actually turn from evil, in thought, speech, and action. You have to reveal it from the hidden dimensions of Bina of the heart, which is higher than time, to bring it into the domain of time. And now, think about it, in the here and now, in the eternal present. In one's brain. To deepen oneself in it, to deepen one's thought in it, in some period of time, until the potential, that revelation of godliness, which is there in ourselves but concealed, but the koyach is there. Koyach is a power. Koyach, it also means potential. So that potential becomes actualized. Mamish, the hainu, and what's it mean to actualize the power of Yiras Hashem, to turn from evil? And then the Abba, the Asay Tayyib, to do good. And actualize that, in one's thought, speech, and action, because of Hashem, or in front of Hashem, who is Soifer Umabit Umazin Umakshib Umabin El Kol Masehu, who looks and gazes and listens and pays attention to and understands Kol Masehu, all of our deeds. Hashem is Boichen Kliyaisev Luvliba. He is searching out our kidneys and our hearts. Kamayim Rizal, as the sages have said in Pirkei Avos, is Stakel B'Shleisha Devorim. This Avos second parak, first Mishnah, says you should look at three things. Ayin Hareya, that there's an eye is which sees, which is always looking. Va'oizen shama'as, and an ear which hears. And the third thing is all of your deeds are recorded in a book. And that's today's Tanya. So, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, editorialized, I just think it's very interesting. This is Mem Beis. Mem Beis is the 42 journeys, happens to be the 42 journeys that we traveled in the desert to get after Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, after crossing the sea. Mem Beis journeys to Eretz Yisrael. So he's taking us now on journeys, this is me editorializing, journeys of what you need to do in order to internalize. I saw in an essay that I liked, read over Shabbos, instead of internalize, she woman, I don't remember her name, uses the word metabolize. To metabolize that which we received on Pesach, to bring it into and make it part of our blood and flesh. And here the Rebbe is giving us advices on the necessity of doing it and how to do it. All right. Comments, questions? Rivka?
Sure. Hi.
Hi.
I like this gives us an action plan, and it gives us responsibility. And it makes us a partnership. It's not like, again, there's a source that you can contact, a makor that you can connect with. Hashem created us in that way, but it takes our effort. It takes effort, and that, again, we value what we work for. So right. It's very valuable. Nice ideas.
So, well, just one of the, over the Pesach, and we're with our kids in New Haven. My daughter Divi, she knows how much I love Hasidus, and we were talking about, I was talking with her about what Hasidus does for me and what it can do. But she says, so how's that working out in general? I said, what do you mean in general? People in general. So we started discussing, and you're right. The difference is whether you read it like, once over, I read it, I know it, I got all this stuff, or whether you yogin, whether you utilize it, strive and work with it. That is the whole deal. Without that, it's another book of interesting information.
I think that's part of why it's important to have a kavias, to have a regular seder.
Yes.
To learn whether it's every day or with a harusa or a certain thing to you're not just a tourist.
Right. Well, and in fact, that's what he told us, right? To shaga doila ritzufa, that we should lisbainin. I'm just reading now. Contemplate b'gedulas Hashem and the greatness of Hashem. Shaga doila ritzufa, consecutively all the ashir in some measured way, and do this in kaviyas. Absolutely. So our kaviyas is obviously one of the elements of making it kaveya. So that's kaveya.
So thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
I couldn't do it otherwise.
Thank you.
And thank goodness it's not. I don't have to come at 7:30 in the morning.
All right. Well, it gets me up. I usually am up earlier.
You have to get up and it's good.
All right. Anybody else? Comments? Okay. So fixed times, and let's fixate on revealing the godliness within us. Okay. See you tomorrow in the session. Bye.
Thank you.